So, good morning, class. We move further and coming to the chapter in civics, the democratic role, the role of democracy in health care, and we are on the heading called the central government's role. Okay. Now, critics say that the national policy lacks specific measures to achieve broad stated goals. Particular problems include the failure of integrated health service with wider economic and social development, the lack of nutritional support and sanitation, and the poor participatory involvement of the local level at the local level. So now they are telling us some of the basic problems which we face, because of which the healthcare suffers. Okay. Now what are they? There are basic problems that failure of integrated health services, the combined health service. One department in the healthcare is not aware of the others working. And so the patient, supposing a patient has gone for fever, so one doctor is watching, the patient is under one person's observation. Supposing there's some other wound also. Now to get that wound treated, there is no coordination, there's no integrated system for the doctors to let the patient be at one place and the doctor could switch over. The patient has to move over from one department to other. Okay, there's no proper integration there. Okay? Then there are certain problems like the nutrition, the malnutrition, the sanitation, the health, all this is not in proper order. Okay? The efforts of the central government at influencing public health has focused on the 5-year plans, on coordinated planning with the states, and on sponsoring major health programs. So it is the work of the central government. Please sit straight. It gives me a very बहुत दुख लगता है मुझे. Okay, so the proper planning is organized for 5 years time, and the central government is asked to look after the working for those 5 years, then the next 5 years, and the so on. Clear? But the progress and detailing of every health care facility which is provided by the government is under the check of the central government. Okay, it looks after that everything which is imparted, which is sent to the hospitals, are that things and the medications being forwarded to others or not, to the patients or not. All this is checked. Okay. Now the goals and strategies are set through central state government consultations of the Central Council of Health and Family Welfare. Now there's one organization called Central Council of Health and Family Welfare. Now this organization looks after the working. That means the central and the state government, they have formed this organization and they look after the working of every state combined with the central government's efforts. Okay? That means supposing in UP, it's a state, not only the central government is looking after the welfare, but also not only the state government is looking after the welfare, but also the central government is also providing the proper check on the working of the public sector. Okay. The efforts of the central government are administered by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now the central government's work and effort, they are done by which department? Please underline it. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which provides both administrative and technical services and manages medical education, while states provide public services and health education. Okay, so certain works are provided by the central government and the remaining other works are done by the state governments. Now, in 1983, please underline this here. In 1983, National Health Policy was committed to providing health services to all by 2000. In 1983, healthcare expenditures varied greatly among the states and union territories, from rupees 13 per capita in Bihar to rupees 60 per capita in Himachal Pradesh, and Indians per capita expenditure was low when compared with other Asian countries outside of South Asia. Although government healthcare spending progressively grew throughout the 1980s, such spending as a percentage of the gross national product, that is GNP, remained fairly constant. In the meantime, healthcare spending as a share of total government spending decreased. During the same period, private sector spending on healthcare was about 1.5 times as much as government spending. Now, listen to this very carefully. All it talks about is a certain amount is fixed for the medical services to be improved. Now, the state has a little share to give, and so has the central government. A little amount of money is given to the states, various states, to look after the medical welfare. Okay, but what happened was, over the years, the improvement was seen less in the public sector, whereas the private, they had their own working, they were all organized by themselves, so they increased. Yeah, so the input of money for that expenditure was not up to the mark. The sanction of money for the medical facilities was not up to the mark. Okay, so that is why it came in by 1980s. That time came when it started rising, but before that, it was still in the developmental process. Okay, now medical tourism in India. Now they are again telling you about the medical tourism. India is quickly becoming a hub of medical tourists seeking quality healthcare at an affordable cost. Nearly 450,000 foreigners sought medical treatment in India last year, with Singapore not too far behind and Thailand in the lead with over 1 million medical tourists. In order to attract foreign patients, many Indian hospitals are promoting their international quality of healthcare delivery by turning to international accreditation agencies to standardize their protocols and obtain the required approval on safety and quality of care. So now, medical tourism has increased in India because many hospitals are providing the advanced facilities, and they have quoted the number of foreign patients who had visited India. There were 450,000. Okay. And the other two competitors in the same tourism department for medicals is Singapore and Thailand. They being also not so advanced and powerful countries as USA, these two countries, Singapore and Thailand, they are giving a tough competition to India because India gets a lot of money through this medical treatments, through these various treatments. And because of this, even the advancement in the medical setup, the medical colleges or the hospitals which are set up, they are also equipped with advanced technology. The staff is neat, prim and proper. There's a proper uniform for all the staff members. The neat and clean beds. All this has attracted the tourists on the international level. International means not just Indians, but also the foreigners who visit India for their treatment. Okay. Now we come on to healthcare and equality. India has 156,231 sub-centers, please underline this, and 28,000 dispensaries, 23,000 primary health centers, 3,000 CHCs, and about 12,000 secondary and tertiary hospitals. Now these figures and numbers you need to learn because there's a question also on it. Okay, so these are the numbers which India has. The whole administrative setup may appear large, but most of the healthcare facilities are understaffed, and understaffing is most prominent in rural healthcare sectors. So though there are a number of hospitals, dispensaries, etc., but the staff to be appointed is still less. Okay, and in rural areas, it is a scarcity of it. There is a scarcity of it. 15% of Indian population do not have access to healthcare due to reasons of unavailability or due to economic reasons. Expansion of healthcare in India has been mostly urban oriented when major part of population lives in rural or semi-urban locations. Mushrooming of private hospitals in India has been in the urban areas and is profit oriented. Public healthcare systems are becoming extinct by the day. Insurance system may not suit Indian conditions since a very large section of rural population would not be able to afford it and the governments may not find the required budget. So these are the hurdles. Firstly, staff is less. Secondly, the rural areas are still deprived. Number of private small clinics and hospitals are opening, which have no motive of helping others, have the motive of earning money. Clear? Plus, there are the insurance companies which are not giving profit to the poor or needy. Why? Because the poor and needy cannot give a certain amount every year for medicine, because only then you will get insurance. Once you give a certain amount of money, then at the time of medical help, you get the insurance. So poor people, they are not fit for it. They can't afford to do this, claim these insurance. And on top of it, the fifth reason, the budget by the government, that stipulated amount which is to be spent on the medical care is very less. So all these factors do not assist in a proper working of the government. Please sit straight. If you want, I can stop the class if you're not interested. I am doing it because I think the period use ho jaye. If you're not interested, let me know. I will go. In India, we face a situation where private services are increasing, but public services are not. Many people cannot afford them or have to borrow money when there is an illness in the family. For those who are poor, every illness in the family is a cause of great anxiety and distress. Obviously, any ailment in a family, किसी को कोई भी बीमारी होती है, the medical help could be got, could be achieved. But what is the hindrance? The money. Many a times a situation is there when the people do not have adequate money to meet those needs. Yeah? And that causes anxiety and fear in the family. Sometimes it is not only the lack of money that prevents people from getting proper medical treatment. Women, for example, are not taken to a doctor in a prompt manner. Women's health concerns are considered to be less important than the health of men in the family. Many tribal areas have few health centers and they do not run properly. Even private health services are not available. A pregnant woman has to travel many kilometers to see a qualified doctor. So you all see these problems, these persist, and they persist because of the overpopulated area, overpopulation in India. Then illiteracy in India. Then because of poverty. So all these factors, they do not allow a proper working. Okay. Now, health insurance. As I told you, the poor people, they are not able to get their health insured. There's no insurance because there's a stipulated amount which you pay every year. And the poor people, they can't afford to do that. So let's see. The majority, are you feeling sleepy? Okay. The majority of the Indian population is unable to access high quality health care provided by private players as a result of high costs. Many are now looking towards insurance companies for providing alternative financing options so that they too may seek better quality health care. The opportunity remains huge for insurance providers entering into the Indian healthcare market since 75% of expenditure on healthcare in India is still not met by out-of-pocket consumers, even though only 10% of the Indian population today has health insurance coverage. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, IRDA, is the governing body responsible for promoting insurance business and introducing insurance regulations in India. So here they are telling you that only 10% of the Indian population has insured itself on medical grounds. Many of them are still struggling. They don't have adequate money to do that. And so there's a company, the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority. That means IRDA. That is the governing body which is responsible for promoting insurance. It asks more and more people to get medically insured. Okay. Now, causes of health issues. What are the causes which are reasonable, strong enough, and are reasons for bad health? So there are these headings: disease, then pollution, then malnutrition, then water and sanitation. All these cause a great havoc in the working. Okay, come on, let's do the diseases. India suffers from high level of diseases, including malaria and tuberculosis. It is striking to note that 1/3 of the world's tuberculosis cases are in India. Tuberculosis is the most common disease in India. In addition, India, along with Nigeria, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, is one of the 4 countries worldwide where polio has not as yet been eradicated. Okay, so polio is another fatal disease which is causing great havoc in the developing countries. So all these diseases, they need to be removed. Ongoing program of the government of India about HIV has led to the decrease in the spread of HIV in present years. Okay, so government has put forward number of schemes so that the people are aware and these diseases could be eradicated. You must have seen Amitabh Bachchan giving an ad for the Do Boond Zindagi Ke for polio vaccinations for the children. You remember that? Next, pollution. According to the World Health Organization, 900,000 Indians die each year from drinking contaminated water and breathing in polluted air. As India grapples with these basic issues, new challenges are emerging. For example, there's a rise in chronic adult diseases such as cardiovascular illness and diabetes as a consequence of changing lifestyles. So apart from the diseases caused by waterborne, which are waterborne or through pollution, there are other factors. With the change in lifestyle, a lot of people are just sitting the whole day and eating the junk food. All this has resulted in cardiovascular diseases and diabetes. Okay, sugar jise kehte hain. Okay, so all these diseases are because of that. Then malnutrition. Half of children in India are underweight, one of the highest rate in India in the world, and nearly the same as sub-Saharan Africa. India contributes to about 5.6 million child deaths every year, more than half the world's total. My goodness, see, 5.6 million child deaths every year. Every year. See the amount of children dying because of lack of nutrition. Okay. Then water and sanitation. Water supply and sanitation in India is a matter of concern. As of 2003, it was estimated that only 30% of the India's it's getting recorded. If you want to listen, it's okay. Otherwise, waste your time. 30% of India's wastewater was being treated with the remainder flowing into rivers or underground groundwater. That means out of the 100% polluted water, only 30% is getting purified. The rest is again just going like that and getting mixed up in the rivers and the tanks. Okay. So if this is the case, the lack of toilet facilities in many areas also prevents a major health risk. Open defecations is widespread even in urban areas of India. And it was estimated in 2002 by the World Health Organization that around 700,000 Indians die each year from diarrhea. No city in India has full day water supply. Most cities supply water only few hours a day. In towns and rural areas, the sanitation is even worse. So they are telling us that the condition is very pathetic. There are open, people still go for unhygienic ways of sanitation. And all this, the impurity in water, the pollution, all this has led to diarrhea. And there have been a number of people dying because of it. 700,000. Can you imagine 700,000 people die every year because of that? Because of lack of proper hygiene. Okay. Now, what can be done? I will quickly read it because it is easy. There is a little doubt that the health situation of most people in our country is not good. It is the responsibility of the government to provide quality healthcare services to all its citizens, especially the poor and the disadvantaged. However, health is much dependent on basic amenities and social conditions of the people as it is on healthcare services. Hence, it is important to work on both in order to improve the health situation in our people, and this can be done. The CSDH, that is Commission on Social Determinants of Health. Please underline this. This is also a very important abbreviation. Now, the condition of India is very poor. We all know that. Still, all cannot be done by the government. We people also need to be aware of. And they have told this Commission on Social Determinants of Health. That means this particular body keeps a check on the working of the health. So what are they have recommended that these three principles need to be followed so that the health care could be taken. Okay, now what are these? First, health inequalities are associated with social inequalities which improve the conditions of daily life, the circumstances in which people are born, grow, live, work, and become old. So first thing is inequality. Some are rich, some are poor, some are very poor. So this inequality gives a very different lifestyle to each one of us. We will have a pure water from the purifier, but these poor people, do they afford a purifier? No, they will have it from a running tap. So first thing is the inequality has to be reduced. Clear? Second point, tackle the inequality distribution of power, money, and resources. The structural drivers of these conditions of daily life, globally, nationally, and locally, as well as measure the problem, evaluate action, expand the knowledge base, develop a workforce that is trained in the social determinants of health, and raise public awareness about the social determinants of health. So they are telling you, it just not needs just a particular area to be aware. It should be aware nationally, internationally, globally, all around, not just locally it should be known, but it should be spread and understood by all that equality is needed, that the improper distribution of wealth and position should be reduced. Okay, people should be made aware of things. Then last point, thirdly, action needs to happen at global, national, and local levels. The national level policy environment needs to empower grassroots community participation in identifying what needs to happen in developing interventions and programs and in evaluating their effects. Health workers at the heart of communities have a pivotal role to play in raising awareness and calling for action on social determinants and in the process of developing and evaluating action at local and national level. So here comes the end. They are telling that the mass awareness is needed. And how it could be done? The government could do it by appointing workers, the social workers, the community workers, the health workers. They could take over the work of imparting the knowledge and awareness about these health issues. Whereas an individual, like people like you and me, it is not just the government's duty to do anything, it is ours also. So what we are supposed to do, we need to be more aware, we need to be more giving and helping to each other. Okay, only then can the health facilities in India could reach the needs with the amount of population we have at hand. Okay, so now tomorrow when we meet, we will be doing the question answers in the first. Yes.